Chapter 41. A shrink ray? Keel shouted at her. It worked, didn't it? Bethany asked, frantically looking through the shelves. Stop complaining and help me look. A shrink ray? Keel repeated. You do understand that when you shrink down the monsters, you hit me as well, meaning they could still easily eat me. Not to mention the insects that used to be normal size, but now we're spiders the size of small horses. Oh, you're fine, Bethany said, pulling a book off the shelf, then tossing it away. Where were they? A shrink ray, Keel said, shaking his head. I almost got eaten for a 43rd time. 44th, Bethany said absently. And aren't you the one who told me to be more fictional, to take more risks? Don't you like danger? Well, yes, he said indigently, though it is a bit less fun without magic, I can't lie. What'd you do with all those monsters anyway? She nodded at a large overturned bowl in the middle of the library. Well, I rounded them up and threw them over there, she said. They're kind of cute at that size. Not if you're that size too, he said, tapping the bowl. Aw, look at that little blob monster, blub, 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 blub. We'll put them back where they belong as soon as I find the last Keel Nomenfoot, the last U-book. She'd seen copies of the series when she was in here last. She'd even taken a copy of the first book, which she'd used in her chase with the Magister. But where had it... Keel Nomenfoot and the Source of Magic, she said, yanking the book off the shelf. This is it. Well, shouldn't it be blank without me in it? Keel asked, giving the book a confused look. Bethany quickly opened up to the final chapter. No, because Owen somehow turned into you and lived out your story. Of course he had. Why didn't she assume that was just because Owen had trapped outside of space and time he still couldn't get himself into trouble? Excuse me. No one turns into me, Keel said, looking offended. I'm one of a kind. Well, now you're two of a kind, she said, showing him the page she'd flipped to. And this is what it said on the page. Keel's eyes opened to find Dr. Veretti bending over him. Ah! He screamed in surprise and tried to push himself backward, but found he was strapped down. Ooh, wow, Keel said, cringing. Things don't look like they've gone too well. I know, Bethany said quietly. You need to get back in there and take his place. Keel glanced over the page. He's getting his heart taken out. That doesn't sound healthy. He sighed. I knew it had to end. That's what the historical documents from the future told us back when we found the second key. I knew I wouldn't live through this, though having my heart removed does explain a few things. Well, we need to get him out of there. She started to reach into the book, but Keel grabbed her hand. Find a place where he's not being watched, or you're just going to turn up in the book, he said quietly. All the arrogance of the moment before gone. I'll switch with him then, and no one will know. Bethany nodded and flipped forward a few pages. Here, he's been knocked out by the science robots to have his heart taken out. Keel nodded and prepared himself. Okay, I'm ready. Bethany started to take his hand, then stopped as something occurred to her. You don't know any magic? Doesn't seem so, no. But you're going to switch places with them? You'll be trapped without any spells. I knew it was coming, he told her. It's been nice having this little break from things out here with you, but now it's time to get back to the real world. He shrugged, or at least my version of it. Bethany closed the book. I'm not going to just let you die. Well, it's how things were meant to go, Bethany. You can't change a life story. She glared at him, hearing her own voice telling Owen the same thing. And then she heard herself snort. Don't be so stupid. We just need Jonathan Porterhouse. He wrote it all. He'll change it. The book is written. Keel grabbed the copy from her hand and showed her the words. See? It's all here. Look. And look at the end. She knocked the book out of his hand. Well, don't look at the end. I'm going to find Mr. Porterhouse, and he's going to fix this. I don't care how. Well, you don't even know where he is, Keel said. Just bring me back, Bethany. Owen doesn't belong there. I do. Bethany glanced around the library. You're right. I don't know where he is, but I can find him. And she could. She had the magic after all. Well, how? Didn't you say the Magister hid him in one of the books? It'll take years to check them all. Not if I use a spell, she said, letting her deep breath. The location spell she learned would find him, of course. After all this time, she knew what the magic did, what it was supposed to do. The only problem was, this was it. Spells were only good once, which meant she'd be no closer to finding her father, and nothing good would come of any of this. For a moment, she couldn't do it, any more than she could cast the spell the day before in the library. Bethany glanced up at Keel, ready to admit that she couldn't. Keel stared at her with a concern, looking like he was ready to catch her if she fell. Well, okay, maybe one good thing would come out of this. She raised her hands the same way she'd seen Keel do. Then she felt the location spell. Then felt the location spell she learned to find her father run through her mind. She took a deep breath, then recited the words, and her whole body began to glow with the same warm feeling like hot chocolate on a cold day. And then she released the glow, saying Jonathan Porterhouse's name. A tiny ball of light appeared in front of her face, then slowly floated off into the shelves of books. Follow it, she yelled, then took off after the light. The glow passed over and through the books, zigging and sagging until finally settling on one in particular. Bethany picked it up quickly and then dropped it in horror. It's Stephen King's book, she whispered. What's that? Keel said. Nowhere you want to go, ever. Ugh, I'm worried, he told her, grabbing her hand. I have a half-fictional girl to protect me. Now let's go find my creator so you can pull your friend out of my story and get me back to losing my heart, shall we? She couldn't help it. She grinned at Keel, then jumped them both in.